And just like that, the San Antonio Spurs and Victor Wembanyama's season ends with his blood clot injury. Currently, Victor Wembanyama is averaging about 25 points a game, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, shooting 47% from the field, and almost 4 blocks, leading to his injury. So, what do the Spurs do now? Do you tank for another high draft pick and, pray to the gods that you get Cooper Fly? Or do you push for that final play-in tournament? You traded for that all-star, De'Aaron Fox. You have CP3. You have Harrison Barnes. You brought these guys in for a reason. Obviously, you didn't count on Victor Wembanyama being out for the season with this injury. But you still have young guys. You have Stephon Castle, Jeremy Sohan, Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell. You have these guys that really never been to the playoffs. I know they've been to the play-in tournament a couple years ago, but they lost. But you have these guys for a reason. And that brings me to the next guy, De'Aaron Fox, who's averaging about 25 points a game, 5 rebounds, 6.3 assists, shooting about 47% from the field goal. Now, you brought this guy for a reason. You traded him to pair with Victor Wembanyama for the future. You kept Stephon Castle, which was huge. Even De'Aaron Fox being that clutch player, he just won the clutch player of the year a couple years ago. And you can still see it early in the Spurs, which is crazy to think about. He's just played a couple games. And the Spurs needed someone like this. You couldn't really rely too much on Chris Paul at age 39. Devin Vassell, hey, maybe he could take a bucket now and then. I've seen it happen. He's good. But De'Aaron Fox, I know this bucket didn't count, but you just see that clutch factor in him. Now, this is the veteran presence of an all-star point guard like De'Aaron Fox. We never had this in San Antonio. The last all-star we had was LaMarcus Aldridge in 2015. So you should be super excited as a Spurs fan, but as an NBA fan in general, Victor Wembanyama finally has his all-star point guard for the future. I'm super excited for the future of San Antonio with Fox, with Wemby, and the next guy we're going to talk about, the rookie, Stephon Castle, who's averaging about 13 points a game, 3 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and is shooting about 42% from the field goal. Now, these numbers aren't, crazy rookie of the years we've seen in the past, especially, last year with Victor, but we see glimpses of superstar in this guy from the defensive end, from the poise on the offensive end. This guy could change speed in a hurry, his misdirection. Now, Stephon Castle is not perfect by any means. He's still yet to find a consistent jumper and is shooting less than 30% from the 3-point line. And in today's NBA, you just cannot shoot below, I would say, even 34% as a starting point guard, especially when you have someone like Victor Wembanyama and you make a trade for an all-star point guard like De'Aaron Fox, who says, I want to play with him also too. Don't trade him. I'm coming to San Antonio. That's a lot of pressure for a rookie. Another guy we're going to talk about is Devin Vassell, who's averaging about 16 points a game, 3.5 rebounds, 3 assists, and shooting about 43% from the field goal. Now, he's recently having a slump. If you look at his shooting numbers, they're not good. But I feel like all season he has not found his legs. Inconsistency is the definition of Devin Vassell. As a Spurs fan, it pains me because we see the talent. We see he could score, he could dribble, he could play make, he could play defense. This guy fits perfectly with Victor Wembanyama. He fits perfectly with De'Aaron Fox. He fits perfectly with Stephon Castle. But is it too much? Is he too prone to injury? His inconsistency. The guy we're going to talk about is his running mate, Jeremy Sohan, who's averaging about 11.7 points, 7 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and is shooting about 55 from the field goal. Now, these numbers are not eye-popping at all. But when Jeremy Sohan is on the court, the Spurs are simply just better overall. Now, am I saying that Jeremy Sohan is the key for the Spurs to win the championship? No, but I'm saying he is good enough to be on this team with Victor Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox. He is that Swiss Army knife, but he does need to improve his 3-point shot. If you cannot space the floor in critical moments such as the playoffs, he's going to get exposed. We've seen it before. So I'm curious if the Spurs are going to extend him when it's time or move on from him. Another guy that's kind of on the same bubble as him, that's been there a little longer, is his teammate Keldon Johnson, who's averaging about 11.6 points, 4.5 rebounds, 1.4 assists, and 45.6 from the field goal. Now, his numbers are down significantly compared to his past seasons. We knew he was never going to average those 20 points again, especially when the Spurs won the lottery and selecting Victor Wembanyama. But everyone thought that he was going to be a good role player around him. Now, the problem is that Keldon Johnson wasn't great at one thing. He wasn't a great catch and shoot player. He wasn't the best defender. He was, a well rounded player, which is not bad. But when you have someone like Victor Wembanyama, people around him need to be better. Unfortunately, he just hasn't developed a aspect that, hey, we need Keldon Johnson in the game in late situations because he does attack the rim as good as anyone else. So what should the Spurs do? Should they tank for Cooper Flag, the best prospect in the 2025 NBA draft, one of the best freshmen in the country? This kid is only 17 and he's dominating college basketball. Yes, he does have some flaws in his game. Those moments, those big moments when he falls down a couple times, if that becomes a pattern, that is something to be worried about. Is it enough to not take him number one in this draft? No, I do not think so. With his upside, he has the potential to be that superstar. His defensive end and his offensive end is just out of this world. Now, do I think the Spurs have a legit shot in pairing Cooper and Vic? I don't think so. Because there's teams actively trying to lose for this guy, just like the Spurs did with Victor. If you look at the Wizards' record right now, they're currently 9-46. That is just crazy to think about. And they're praying to the gods that they get this guy. But who I think the Spurs could also get is a guy like VJ Edcombe, who's currently averaging about 15 points a game, 5 rebounds, 3.3 assists, and shooting about 45 from the field goal. Now, VJ Edcombe is, sort of raw. I don't think he as pure of a scorer as Cooper Flag, but his defensive upside is there. His athleticism is there, which is crazy to think about if somehow the Spurs do get this guy with Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox, Jeremy Sohan, and Victor Wembanyama, and then you add a guy like this. It's just absolutely crazy to think about that defensive team. I know the odds of him going to the San Antonio Spurs are pretty slim. But if you think about this, now I may be biased because I really like VJ Edcombe, but I just think he's a perfect fit along with San Antonio. Just because his defensive potential, his offensive potential, it's all there. I have him over another guy we're going to talk about, Ace Bailey, who's probably the best scorer in the country, freshman, senior, no matter what. This guy is a bucket, averaging 19 points a game, 7 rebounds, but his flaw is he's only averaging about 1.1 assists. He really doesn't know when to pass or have that right mindset of when I need to pass, when I need to kick it out and get it back. No, Rutgers is currently not a good team. They're not playing good. But we knew that. We knew that it was just going to be a two-man show because that's what they spent their NIL money on. These two guys to bring in and, show off their skills. Now, no one's complaining about them making the tournament, maybe a deep run. I don't have them making the tournament, but would I be surprised if they did? No, I wouldn't because, we want to see these guys play during the big game. Now, do I think the San Antonio Spurs have a legit shot in drafting him? No, because I have him top 3. Another guy that I think the Spurs can get, though, is Ethan Null, who's averaging about 15 points a game, 6.8 rebounds, under 1 assist, shooting about 55.5 from the field goal. Now, these numbers are great as a freshman. I think Noel could be that grit and grind player, crash the offensive glass, cut, catch an alley oop from De'Aaron Fox, from Stephon Castle, even from Victor Wembanyama. Victor could run the set. That's what makes him so special. And I think he could fit perfectly with them. Another realistic pick for the Spurs, Con Knipple out of Duke. He's averaging around 13 points, 4 rebounds, 2.5 assists, shooting 44% from the field goal. Now, this is a dream for the San Antonio Spurs because this guy is playing along with Cooper Flag and he's thriving. That is a good sign, seeing his potential as a role player, as a 3-and-D player. This would be a great pickup for the San Antonio Spurs. Now, another guy I'm high on in this draft is Trey Johnson out of Texas, who's averaging about 20 points a game, 3.2 rebounds, 2.6 assists, shooting about 44% from the field goal. Now, Trey Johnson is one of the best freshmen in the country also, but one of the best scorers in the country. I always have him with Ace Bailey as a one-on-one who's the best scorer in the country. Now, I'll probably have Ace Bailey ahead of him just because his size, but Trey Johnson's up there. Now, is he perfect? No, because defensively, he's not the best. He can't really play make as much, but he could create his own shot, which is huge nowadays. Now, is he going to be the perfect fit in San Antonio? I don't think so. I have him a little higher. I still have him at least top 8 getting drafted. I don't know if the Spurs will land a top 8 pick. Now we got to remember the Spurs still have the Atlanta Hawks first round pick unprotected, along with their own first round pick. They didn't give any first round picks of their own in the De'Aaron Fox trade, so that was huge. Now, what if both these picks land top 10? Do you package these picks for a superstar? We have to see. We have to see what the playoffs look like. We have to see if there's some superstar star that just performs badly in the playoffs. And hey, we need to move on from this guy. Or hey, I want out of this team. We don't know. Or do the Spurs just, hey, let's just draft another young rookie with high upside and go from there? We don't know because Victor Wembanyama sped up this rebuild. So the Spurs have to act on this. But I'm curious to what y'all think. Please let me know in the comments if the Spurs should tank. Should they push for that playing tournament? Should they keep both draft picks from the Hawks in their own? Should they package the superstars? Or if anyone in the draft that's y'all like, please let me know in the comments. Again, thank you. If you like the video, please like, subscribe. I'm going to try to come out with as many videos as possible. I'm new to this, so thank you again.